Welcome here to another edition of Husker Online Headlines. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple. I think we're back. Third installment of the show, Sip. It's been a lot of fun doing this with you every single Thursday.
Thank you, Sean.
The last few weeks. And every week we hit on 5, what we think are headlines Nebraska fans, Husker Nation want to hear about. And no better place to start with the recruiting evaluation period coming to an end this week. Nebraska's been down in Phoenix a lot. Checking in on the nation's number one player for 2024, quarterback Dominic Raiola. No better place to start than his father, Dominic Raiola, Husker legend, All-American, Remington Trophy winner. Dom Raiola joining us here in what's probably been an extremely busy month of January for you and your family. Dom, welcome. Thanks for taking some time with us.
No problem, guys. No problem.
Well, give us a breakdown, Dom, because when Dylan decommitted from Ohio State, that was the very end of, the December period. So coaches couldn't really kind of get involved yet. January, things opened up. What have the last 2+ weeks been like for you? How many different coaches have kind of made their way into Arizona? I know the contact is limited to an extent as far as what they can do with you in person, but there's obviously been a lot of foot traffic your way the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, when he decommitted, we kind of took the month to just kind of enjoy our Christmas and enjoy being around our family. And we kind of just took it slow. We haven't been on social media all December. And then this thing kind of kicked off. We said we're going to start this thing back up and from the ground level. And that's kind of what we started with. And I think every school that's come in, they've come in and saw Dylan and saw Chandler High School, and that's just kind of where we're at. I think this is an information gathering time,
Okay.
And it's good to gather as much meaningful information as possible. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Okay, Dom Raiola joins us. Dominic Raiola joins us. Dominic, now we're talking about your son Dylan Raiola. It's his, and you've made it clear to me this is his decision. But you obviously monitor it very close. You're a football. You love football. When you think about the package that you want to see in the school your son attends, Dominic, what are the things that come to mind in the total package that you want this school to offer your son Dylan?
It sounds so cliche, but you want him to be around good people where he'll develop as a person, because we're big believers of developing people, and if you can develop the person, the football stuff will take care of itself. So when we talk about developing the person, it's a selfless culture that is gonna be fertile for being a better person and winning. And winning takes care of a lot, and having the opportunity to win. And so that's kind of, it's kind of cliche, but it's so true that's what you want for your kid. You want to be able to go to sleep at night and know that, your kid's in a safe place and in a safe environment, and that, it's conducive to winning.
Dom, you've had some unique opportunities now to talk to Coach Matt Rule, meet Matt Rule. Your brother is the lone coach that was retained on the staff here. Matt Rule went down there the opening day on Friday a couple of weeks ago. Marcus Satterfield was there this past week. First off, did Nebraska make it down this week? Any coaches down your way yet this week? Are they planning on
I think they're coming down tomorrow. I think there's some coaches coming down tomorrow. But, anytime a head coach comes, that means a lot. It means that you're a priority. I mean, those guys are stretched thin, of what they can see and who they can see. And when they come see you, it's a priority, And so, among other head coaches, Harbaugh stopped by Chandler to see him. I know that's like a curse word in Lincoln, right?
No, not too bad, Dom. Not too bad.
Not bad? Okay.
No, not too bad.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about Ohio State, but no, he came by and saw him. Kirby Smart and his staff were here, and Coach Rule, and being there on the first day, that makes you. It does show a lot. It does show that he's a priority. It does show, it means a lot. And you gotta, I think the thing people forget is, and we talk about it all the time, we take it for granted.
Hmm.
If you look at, Nebraska's program, and you look at the stuff that they're doing around that, around Lincoln, around their campus. You look at that facility. I've been to every facility in the country. There ain't gonna be one like it. I don't think within 5 years.
Hmm.
But then you put the people in it, right?
Hmm.
Nebraska is a true sleeping giant in this industry, and I can say that because I was a part of that giant.
Hmm.
I was just a little part of it. We had a lot of guys that poured into that program. From leadership to all the way to the lowest of the low, the walk-ons.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that it means a lot. And it really truly took a village to build that place, and and so it's like from a GA assistant coach to Coach Osborne. That it's like the wide range, and it all went into what we built there, and it was even before me, so and before I was there, and so it truly is I call it a sleeping giant because it is a giant. It is one of the giant programs in college football, and so I think you have to appreciate that, and you have to you know handle it with that kind of care because you know you can say that it's just another program. It ain't. Not in this house. It's not just another program. And I think with Coach Rule, being there and those guys that he brought in, I think it's you're gonna see a lot of changes. And I don't know we say that every time. I feel like Sid, we talk about that every time a new head coach comes in. But
Hmm.
you gotta look at where this guy came from, and you look at how people talk about him, and built Temple, and you just look at before that. Look at his track record before that, and so we're excited. We're excited about the opportunity to learn more about this coaching staff and what they're about.
Dominic Raiola joins us. Dominic, you have, you have had time to form some early impressions of this new leadership. What are your early impressions of Matt Rule, Marcus Satterfield, etc.? What do you like?
Yeah, Sip. I call it the information gathering process, and I think
Hmm.
I think I love how I love how they're building a relationship. It's hard to say it any other way.
Hmm.
They're truly building a relationship with Dylan and our family, and I think you can just start there. It's not it's really has nothing to do with my brother being there. My brother, them retaining my brother is truly because he is a good coach. He's a
Hmm.
good O-line coach that does things the right way. And so, hats off to him. That's a feather in his cap that they retained him. But these guys they're elite. They're elite. He has a Heisman Trophy winner, I think, right, with RG3, and with what he did with that program at Baylor. And you look at, you remember the college game day atmosphere they had when he was at Temple. Like little things like that stick out. So for this guy to be on a level of at Nebraska football, and this time with Nebraska football, he really is embracing it. I was there when he talked to at the basketball game, and that was awesome to see. And he really is embracing the true culture of all of Nebraska. And and the leader above him really did a good job, because you got to talk about, when you talk about Matt Rule, you got to talk about who hired him, and Trev Alberts, and he really gets it, and so it's never too far gone. That program deserves a lot of respect, and respect is always going to be earned, never going to be given. And I think what those guys are doing in the weight room with the new strength coaches and those guys now, and just hearing, I have a different insight because my brother can share with me, hearing that breakfast is mandatory, and when kids are missing classes, and
Hmm.
little things like that. It's a big deal, man. It really is a big deal.
As we wrap it up here with Husker legend Dominic Raiola, the dead period starts Sunday, Dom. Obviously, the month of February, you guys are going to probably do a lot of thinking. But do you know at this point in March what schools you're going to visit? Have you set a date yet on when you'd like to come back to Nebraska to spend some more time when things open back up in March?
Yeah, I don't know. We don't have any specific schools. We don't have any flights yet. I will tell you, we're going to be back in Nebraska. How many times, I don't know. But it's a dead period for most, but I got family there, so it's not really a dead period for me.
So you could
You
come.
know,
I mean, the dead
I
period
can
doesn't
come
really
whenever I want,
apply in
right? I
Nebraska,
think.
right?
I mean, shoot, I went to school there. I'm alumni. I think it's a little different. I don't know. We got to see what compliance says, but just continuously, learning. I think it's a dead period, but I think you can still talk to coaches. So it's gonna be, it's gonna ramp up here and get pretty heated. But Nebraska's definitely a school that we're gonna visit. I know we're planning on going to Athens, Georgia, and
Okay.
seeing their program.
Okay.
They're, I mean, the USC's, Oregon. I don't know what other schools are going to emerge. I really don't. We have to talk about it as a family after this month concludes, and then we'll get back into it. But it's we're going to come see. We're going to be back in Lincoln, that's for sure.
One more from me, Dominic. You were here when Ben Scott was here that weekend. You went to a basketball game. You were kind of you were kind of involved, right? Did you kind of feel like a recruiter that weekend?
Yeah, I did. And it's easy for me to talk about the program because I love it, and I knew Ben Scott was going to be was a good player. I mean, he's a 3-year starter in a Power 5 conference at a school like ASU. He started at right tackle, then he came in to play center, and I got a chance to work with him when I was in Texas. Came out and stayed with me for 5 weeks, and he went to my high school in Hawaii. His mom's from Nebraska. His mom went to the University of Nebraska, so I thought it was a big deal that to just shed light on how big of opportunity this was for him. And I know he had some other opportunities, but this is a big one. I mean, it hit close to home, kind of similar, right? Hit close to home, and and just to show him that, look, man, this place is no slouch. We're some wins away from competing with the playoff being 12 teams. It's realistic to say like Nebraska is can be one of those schools like we saw TCU do this year.
I totally agree.
It for sure can be one of those schools, especially with the leadership involved. So, Ben Scott's gonna be. I'm looking forward to rooting for him.
Well, Dominic, we appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us
Dom.
here on Husker Online Headlines. Hopefully, we can get you on again here down the road, and best of luck as you kind of sort through a lot of decisions here in the coming weeks.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dominic.
All right, that was Dominic Raiola. Sip. Let's move on.
Wow, that was
by the way, Nebraska's in a pretty good spot right now.
Sounds like. I mean, Dominic loves this place. Sean loves it.
I mean, okay, Dominic was great, and that was real. Like Matt Rule and Nebraska have made up a lot of ground here from when things kind of went south in the spring.
They did. They have.
I mean,
they went south, and you're right about that. And Rule has made up like you said, Sean, that's a great way to put it. They've made up a lot of ground.
The key is effort. I mean, the Raiolas want to feel the effort, and Matt Rule and the staff are putting that effort in, and that leads us to headline number 2. Headline number 2: Matt Rule is literally everywhere right now. You look at him as a recruiter. He's been out on the road here on Thursday. He's in St. Louis. He's been all over in Omaha and different high schools. I mean, you name it. I mean, he's been coast to coast. They'll be back out. You heard Dominic Raiola. I would assume Matt Rule is going to be out there Friday. Wouldn't surprise me if Nebraska sends the whole staff out to Chandler. I don't know that, but I would imagine a large group will be out there on the final day. They can kind of see Dylan Raiola. Yeah,
this is pretty exciting. And when you really think about it, the number 1 player in the country happens to be a quarterback. He happens to be the son of a guy who loves this place, who played here, happens to be the nephew of the offensive line coach. It's all very exciting, but Nebraska does have to show them a package. And one of the things Dominic didn't mention today, Sean, but he's mentioned it to me before, is he wants his son at a place that he knows Dylan will improve. Satterfield's going to be big in this. Satterfield has to be able to show that this is how I'm going to improve your son. So as far as Rule goes, Dominic, you get a sense of it from listening to him. He's all about hard work. Dominic's retired. Okay. And he's still about hard work. Okay. He just doesn't. Dominic is just that guy, and Sean, that he appreciates what he sees from Rule. I know he does. Dominic is like the fan base. He hungers. God, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to Dominic about it. He hungers for this place to get back. Like he said, me and him have talked over the years. They hire coach after coach, and we try to break it down and assess how it's going to go. And it's just been disappointment, right? He wants it bad. Son could be a big part of it.
Well, and you
Son could be
mentioned
a big
Marcus
part of it.
Satterfield.
Yeah.
He's had some experience coaching a player, at least of the caliber on paper of Dylan Raiola. I mean, Spencer Rattler.
Yeah,
I mean,
good point.
Spencer Rattler is a 5-star quarterback. When we went out to Norman, Oklahoma in 2021, he was looked at that time to be a number 1 draft pick.
He was.
And I remember saying, yeah, he's not, but you got to give Satterfield credit. I mean, the way Rattler played at the end of the year,
Finished the season strong.
He was as good as any quarterback in the SEC.
Yeah, he threw for 600 yards against Tennessee, 6 touchdown passes. That was the night I watched that game because Nebraska played during the day. And it was, if you saw the South Carolina offense that night, you'd be blown away. Now, to be fair, and I'm sure the Husker fans are thinking this as we speak. It wasn't all good with Satterfield in South Carolina. There are a lot of fans ready to run him right out of there, but he did finish strong for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting just to see kind of how the week ends, but it's been impressive when you look at what Matt Rule has done on the road, just with the way the coaches have been out. I've been doing this a long time, and as far as an in-state presence and what they've done, I've never seen anything like it.
Really?
Never.
See, and you're not just a hype man, because you can hear that sort of stuff when a new coach comes over. And a lot of fans, Sean, I'm going to tell you, their eyes will glaze over. Okay, we've heard it all before. These guys, they come in and they attack the in-state recruiting, and it all sounds good. But what you're seeing is real.
Yeah, and normally when they do in-state recruiting here, for example, you might go to like the 10 or 15 best programs because that's all you have time for. They're going everywhere. I mean, they're going to like Buena Vista High School, which just opened on 60th and L Street this year.
Oh, yeah, I've been by it.
I mean, Bryan, South, Battle Creek, I mean, Cross County. That's in Stromsburg, by the way, I believe.
I think so.
But I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, you name it, they've been to pretty much every A, B, and C school in the state. When you break it all down,
that's amazing. And Trev on his statewide radio program on Tuesday night did say that Rule has exceeded his expectations in terms of work pace. That's exactly what he said, word for word. That Rule and his staff have exceeded Trev's expectations in terms of work pace. Now that's the kind of thing that gets Dominic Raiola's attention. It does. I know Dominic. I mean, Dominic is about hard work and and doing things right. And what you're seeing, Sean, is that Rule is working hard and doing things right.
Yeah, and I don't think we would have been able to know this going in, because at Baylor, there's just not the media microscope on things in Temple. I mean,
not Temple.
When you even at Baylor,
right.
The Waco newspaper might have one guy covering it.
Right.
There's a website called like Sikkim 360 that's pretty big there, but not, like they don't have like a lot of media, hardcore, day-to-day coverage.
No, it's not even close to this place.
And fan passion. So here, like the work is being elevated even more on like a stage. Like people are like, wow. I mean, because they're following. I think the coaches enjoy like how much people care here. Like everybody, it's like when you go to the grocery store, people ask you like, are they going to get down to 85? Like how many places in the country are like, when you're buying your eggs, which are not cheap, by the way.
No, they're not. $6 for a dozen.
But when you're buying your eggs, some guy in the checkout line's like, how's Nebraska going to get down to 85? I mean, I think Matt Rule appreciates that, like that people give a, what here.
Yeah. And you hit it. Well, you've gone to plenty of places over the years where it's not the case. I've gone to plenty of places. What's really struck me about Nebraska is the spring game. When you see the spring game, like when I worked downtown, I was always amazed. Man, this looks like a game day. It looks like a game day. This looks like a game day. And I've been to places on autumn Saturdays that didn't look anything like Nebraska for the spring game. That's what always would strike me. Wow, Fresno, that you can barely even tell there's a game here today. Doesn't look like Nebraska at all. Michigan State. We've been to Michigan State where you drive up real close to the stadium and like it's Kearney State. You just walk in, UNK. Not Nebraska. I mean, it's a different animal here.
Think about this possible. Say Dylan Raiola makes a decision before the spring game and he picks Nebraska.
Yeah.
And the Raiolas say, obviously they would come probably to the spring game. Can you imagine the scene? You know, they honor former players, and they recognize Dom Raiola at the spring game. What that would be like?
There'd be literally people with tears in their eyes. I might be one of them.
So Dom, if you're listening or watching later,
Yeah.
know that scene could exist if you want that scene to exist.
Well, Dominic is. I just always emphasize this. Come on, I mean, you deal with a lot of ex-players, former players. I do too. They love their alma mater at different levels. You know, it's just like anything else. There's a lot of guys who would say, yeah, I love my alma mater. But Dom is on that high end. Like this place was so important to him. So Dylan's making the decision. It's definitely Dylan's decision. It'll be hard for him to bypass a place like Georgia where it's pretty much guaranteed success. But you do have that father. And even if his father tries to divorce himself somewhat, he's going to feel that love from his dad. He'll feel it, even if it's not spoken very often.
And I think it was hard because obviously when Frost was here, they probably wanted it to work, but they knew it wasn't going to work. And how hard would that be? Like something that you want, like a marriage you want to work.
And you just see it's not working.
And it's not going to work.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
And that last spring was tough.
Oh, God.
April and May, kind of when he just, but anyway, let's get on to the next. Scott Frost, the next topic. Headline number 3.
Yeah.
Scott Frost to Alabama. What? Nick Saban's looking for a new offensive coordinator. Bill O'Brien off to the NFL. The theory, and I was listening to Mike Huguenin from On3, one of our national experts, and he said Saban has kind of gone back and forth. He's gone pro style to spread. O'Brien is pro style. The thought now is he wants more of a spread mind. Would Scott Frost be somebody that Nick Saban looks at as an offensive coordinator? And honestly, that would be a great job for Scott Frost. Like, I mean, but perfect job for him.
Yeah,
like
it would be,
because number one, he's really good with talent. When he has talent like that, and he just manages the plays in the offense, that to me would be like a home run scenario for him. And now, is he going to get the job? That's a better question.
Here's where we're getting this from. The Athletic had a rundown of this morning of the open college assistant jobs. And what the Athletic wrote, Sean, was on the college front, keep your eye on Jeff Lebby at Oklahoma, Slade Nagel at Tulane, and Scott Frost at Nebraska for the OC opening at Alabama. That's not an analyst opening. That's the real deal now, calling plays for Nick Saban. It's fascinating. Tell me that wouldn't be fascinating.
The other thing too, if you remember, Bob, now I'm blanking on his name. He worked for Nebraska he's kind of like the personnel guy for Alabama. So
Bob Welton.
Frost has an in with Alabama with Bob Welton, because Bob did leave here on good terms to go to Alabama. So yeah, that is something to watch. I think a lot of people locally would probably be surprised if it played out that way.
Yeah. I know. It'd be somewhat good for Scott because it totally occupy his mind, and it would enable him to just completely forget about what happened here, or he will never completely forget about it, but it would take his mind off of it. I got to think it's really hard for him almost on a daily basis to know what happened here. And, he wants to move on, and this would, this would really be moving on quickly. Right. I'll kind of believe it when I see it. Sean.
Yeah. I mean, what about like a name like Cliff Kingsbury? Has he been mentioned?
No, I told you the 3 names I mentioned. Kingsbury took off for Thailand on a one-way ticket. Cliff Kingsbury left Arizona with a one-way flight to Thailand. Now Thailand is very much a tourist destination. It has beautiful areas like beaches. I'd never thought of it that way. I will tell you this though, when there was that report that Kingsbury took off to Thailand with a one-way ticket, I know I'm like a lot of people that went to the Google and said, why go to Thailand? And I guess it is a pretty touristy spot. seems like it's not where I'd go, but he's got a one-way.
Is he married?
He's got an Instagram girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
Model, Insta model.
Rough. That's rough.
Tough deal. Yeah. And you know what? I think Arizona's paying him for the next 4 years. I mean, he's
Can you imagine just like
they're paying him for the next 4 years?
He's just walking around in some dirt road village in Thailand.
Yeah.
Probably eating fish or
whatever you do in Thailand.
I don't even know.
Yeah. There's beaches there and there's, I don't know what.
Now do you ever watch that show Locked Up Abroad?
I'm cognizant of it. Yeah.
Like one thing I've learned is you don't try to break the law in Thailand.
Is that right?
Oh, I mean, people like try to smuggle drug. Like people go on these one-way tickets and they'll go to Thailand and they run out of money naturally.
Yeah.
And so they meet somebody in a bar or a club and said, hey, take this package to point A to point B on a flight. And then they get caught and then they have to go to prison in Thailand. And it's like dang near a life sentence if you have drug smuggling charges in Thailand.
Yeah. What I always say, Sean, no felonies after age 55. That's where I'm at.
But yeah, Thailand, that will be, I'm sure he doesn't have a cell phone out there.
Oh, come on. I don't know about that. Now you're getting a little bit provocative. He's probably got a cell phone, Sean.
Yeah. If his agent wants to find him.
Yeah.
He'd find him. All right, let's get on headline number 4. 2 things. Number 1, baseball season practice starts this week, but basketball. I want to talk basketball with you as we transition to some other sports topics. Nebraska lost to a Northwestern, and I don't think we're surprised they lost the game. I think we're surprised what it looked like, how well Northwestern shot, how well they rebounded on Nebraska. Just a lot of things fell apart for Fred Hoiberg's team. And on paper, I thought, you know what, this is a winnable opportunity. Northwestern's on short rest, having to play Monday, Wednesday. Nebraska should win this game at home, and they didn't. And, I think this is kind of a snapshot of what it could be like down the stretch when you take away some of the key players they've lost. This is not the same Nebraska basketball team, Sipple, that beat Creighton.
No, there's a few ways to look at this, and I've been on record here I've said I'm going to cut Fred some slack, okay, because of the injuries to Jawan Gary and Emmanuel Bandamo, okay? I'm going to cut Fred slack. I like the way they play. Fred has flipped the culture. He's totally changed their modus operandi, and he's done it, and it looks good. Didn't look good last night. Fred said it. I mean, I listened to Fred on the post game. I mean, he didn't like the energy, Sean. They had 16 turnovers. That was a key stat. The other key stat was they got out rebound. They got beat on the boards pretty bad, especially the offensive glass. Defense, a lot of defense is closing the possession with the defensive rebound, right? They didn't do that. Northwestern got too many second chance opportunities. Northwestern scored on over 50% of its possessions. Northwestern was really well prepared. And Sean, you play basketball at Omaha Groves at a semi-high level. They ran into a Northwestern team that was shooting the ball well that night. You know how that goes. Northwestern was shooting it really well.
And you meant those same shots when they beat Iowa. Iowa wasn't hitting them. When they almost beat Purdue, Purdue wasn't hitting them.
Hold on. Now, that's where you go back to Gary and Bandamel. Gary and Bandamel played against Iowa. I watched that Iowa game. Iowa wasn't moving the ball like Northwestern, and Nebraska was fully stocked at that point. It's a whole different game now. I've heard from people, though, that say, Sipple, you keep talking about cutting Fred slack because they lost Bandamel and Gary. The 49ers are one game away from the Super Bowl with the third-string quarterback. You see what I'm saying? Fred doesn't have I'll just say Fred's detractors would say, wait a second. I mean, teams lose guys. Does that have to be a death knell? You just ride off the season? I mean, when Bo Pelini was down to Kellogg Jr., did we cut Bo slack?
Yeah,
not to bring that back. Not to bring all that back, but did you do that?
He won games at Michigan and Penn State.
Yeah. And I know this, the narrative wasn't, if Pelini just can get 7 with a third-string quarterback.
Imagine like Matt Masker winning at Michigan.
Right. Do you know what I'm saying? You weren't saying, Sean, to me, hey, if Pelini can just get to 7, that's fine because he's got a backup quarterback. Now, you could come at me and say, well, that's what you're saying about Fred. I wrote it in a column. If they can just get 7 Big Ten wins now, it'll probably be okay.
I think we read the boss, though. Like under Bo, we were reading the Eichhorst Perlman situation, and we knew they wanted him out of there. So they were going to.
They weren't cutting him slack.
I mean, beating Penn State and Michigan on back-to-back weeks on the road, back-to-back weeks.
With Kellogg.
Like,
or was it with Kellogg?
No. Tommy had a bad ankle, and Kellogg had to play.
Penn State.
Yeah.
Tommy played against Michigan.
Yeah. And Amir scored late. But
yeah, Tommy played
back-to-back road weeks.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Fred conversation will heat up. Last night wasn't good for him.
Does Trev want to make a move on him? That's what we don't know. And Trev has been very supportive.
Yeah, publicly he has.
I think with Frost, even over a year ago, not right, like when you're going back to last offseason, there was a thought, they need to make a move on him, but it just never felt like the fans and the boosters were ready to make the move yet. They wanted to kind of see
how it went.
One more, and Frost got his 2 or 3 games, and they made the move at that point.
Yeah,
and some at the time said, Trev should have done it the year before, but he didn't. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be a situation like that with Fred? If he kept Fred and it doesn't go well, then he has to kind of be in a similar situation with Frost the next year. I mean, you just wonder what Trev's thinking right now.
You do wonder, but you alluded to it. Trev likes the way this team plays. Trev has talked about how he wants Nebraska teams to play with a style and have a culture in the program that's reflective of the state. Hardworking, tough-minded, never quit. You wouldn't say that about Fred's team last season. You wouldn't. They weren't particularly hardworking, tough-minded.
Does Fred want to coach that way, though?
Well, so Fred changed the culture, and to keep his job, he might.
But I don't know. He has so much money.
Yeah. I don't know what he's driven by. His fire seems like it burns pretty hot here. I mean,
his boys playing.
Right. I mean, I heard a lot of disappointment in his voice last night on that post game interview. He doesn't sound like a guy who's going through the motions. I've heard coaches that sound like they're going through the motions. Okay. He doesn't sound like that. Now he sounds very disappointed, and he knows, Sean, now he knows he's in an unrelenting conference. It's not, the Big Ten's not as good as usual, but it's still, Sean, they're going to Maryland on Saturday to play a team that just beat Wisconsin by 18. You don't think of Maryland as a great team, but they just beat Wisconsin by 18. Then goes on the road, stays on the road because they go to Illinois. What did Illinois do to them? They beat them by 26 in Lincoln, Sean. I think you were there. Okay.
And that was a bad matchup.
Yeah, you're staring at 3-7 right now. You're 3-7 right now. You could quickly go to 3-9, and you can't let it get out of control, right? That's what he's thinking about, I guarantee you.
All right. Final headline: signing day is Wednesday. And, it had gotten to the point the last 3 or 4 years where this February signing day had kind of been just a big nothing burger where, they might sign one guy or no guys even. Yeah. Well, right now, Nebraska's going to have at least 3 high school guys signing on Wednesday. Wide receiver Demetrius Spell, and then teammates Ismail Smith-Flores, the tight end, and then Jeremiah Charles. They should also get Sua Lafatu. He is visiting Weber State this weekend. And Nebraska was the week before. He canceled his Indiana visit. I like the Huskers there. So probably looking at 4 high school guys signing. But the main thing is, Sipple, we'll get another opportunity to speak with Matt Rule. It will be the first time that he's spoken with reporters in close to 7 weeks or so.
Yeah. Well, he's been pretty busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll be good to talk to him. There's going to be more dialogue with him in the coming days between the local media, with the local media. So yeah. And then on signing day, those players are all pretty interesting to me. I really like that kid. Say his name again.
Lafatu.
Yeah.
Sua. Let's call him Sua.
Didn't start at St. John Bosco Prep in Belleville, California. It didn't start, which, that always is sort of a red flag, but he had 24 tackles, and I watched him. I watched him, and my thought was, whoa. I mean, that's the number 1 prep team in the country, by the way, the number 1 team in the country, undefeated, powerhouse. And his playing time, he played a lot, and man, he's good to the ball. I mean, he's a powerful kid. I mean, I'm not putting too much on him here. I'm not talking about Sue here, but I liked what I saw. He's big. He's, you know, he's Sean. He's 6'4" and 285. You know, moves well.
A lot of questions though. And a lot of people have. It'll be hard to get. You know, you got at a deal like this when everyone wants a crack at the coach with questions. You might get 1 or 2 questions in at the press conference on signing day. So you got to be kind of selective.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about like what's on your mind for Wednesday?
Mm.
I know it's hard to say now because so much can still happen, but
I mean, there's a lot actually. Yes, the question I have is something he addressed on Bussin' with the Boys. I'm very interested in that Texas recruiting, and he addressed that on Bussin' with the Boys. I would just like to follow up on that, I guess.
And you're referring to with Oklahoma and Texas leaving the Big 12, and then Cincinnati, BYU, and Central Florida joining the Big 12. All of a sudden, the Big 12 is no different than the Big 10 and the SEC. It's a regional league, or it's a national league. National league, excuse me, national league. No longer a regional league, and that's going to allow more people the ability to say, look, you're going to have to travel wherever your kid goes and plays.
It's more of a national conversation in that USC and UCLA are coming into the Big Ten, Sean. I mean, it's just become more of a national, more and more, or maybe it's better to put it this way, less and less regional. I mean, the regional discussion has been diminished greatly by the way all the conference shakeups. So yeah, I get it. I didn't think of it that way until Rule said that on Bussin' with the Boys. So I'd like to expand on that. Why? I mean, it's clear why he likes Texas in one regard, and that is he has staff members now that have great connections, and that I can be, like I talked about the other day, that can be a time saver. You can recruit more efficiently with those kind of connections. You can just call a guy, Sean, that you know and trust, and say, okay, you got a running back there. Is it worth it for us? Yes, get him. The other coach,
Bob Wager, on his own team did that. To get guys to Nebraska.
Yes, get him. You know how much time that can save? Okay, we don't have to delve into this too much. No, you don't have to delve into anything. The kid's ready.
Or that coach will say, hey, yeah, we'll get him up there. Don't worry about it. They'll come up.
Yeah. Time saver. It's efficiency. That's part of it. I mean, talent acquisition. Sean, come on. Talent acquisition is almost the whole game. I mean, come on. I mean, there's a lot that goes on to make a football team look like Georgia. But number one is talent acquisition, right?
Garrett McGuire too. Like, I'm really fascinated what he's going to bring on that Busing with the Boys interview. Matt Rule said, look, he goes, I understand his age situation, but we're lucky to get this guy. He goes, I'm going to be lucky to keep him here for 3 or 4 years because he's going to be that well thought of in this industry. He's no different than some of the different guys that he's had on his staff that are now coaching at bigger jobs elsewhere, like Fran Brown at Georgia, the Texas A&M defensive line coach over there that they tried to potentially get here. I mean, he used that example. It's like, look, I've hired young coaches that young and look where they're at now, in big time jobs. So he goes, I look at this hire no different. And he goes, I could have went out and hired a bunch of big name guys that think they had it all figured out, but they don't really want to work the way I want to work. He goes, I build a staff of guys that want to work the way I want to work. And we've been around enough coaches with big names and kind of recruiting egos would be a way to say it, that they're going to do it their way.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes to get everybody on the same, like guys just making their own offers without running up the ship.
That won't be happening.
That won't be happening. And that has happened at Nebraska a lot over the years where guys just kind of make their own offers without kind of getting approved through a process.
They kind of go rogue.
Yeah. And they're, like Mickey went a little, I mean, he had a big name, he just make his own offers, he offered, and that's fine, but it creates kind of a complicated deal.
It can, if you think about it. You don't have to think too hard about why that would create complications with the head coach and other staff members. I don't want to throw Mickey I don't want to throw him out there all that much because Sean, others did it,
but he's an example. Like, I'm just using an example of like some transfers they took that probably they didn't need to take, but he had the connection and just kind of, they took, I mean, so that's not going to happen with this staff. The way Rule has built it, I get the sense that they're a much more cohesive group and it's run at the top.
That's critical. I mean, everybody knows over there now who's in charge. Okay. And you always have that to a certain extent. It's always so much about life, Sean, is about distinctions and matters of degree. And I'd say Rule, it's a very high degree of how much people know who's in charge over there. And Rule, I mean, that's you tip your cap to Rule on that. He listen, he's the leader, and he embraces that. He embraces that. He's there, he's working harder than anybody. And he can't, and I'll tell you one thing, you wouldn't say that about all the head coaches over the years here. You wouldn't.
All right. Well, that wraps it up here for Husker Online headlines. Reminder, if you're not a member of Husker Online, check us out. $29.99 gets you access to the site all the way until August 31st. Reminder to download, like, subscribe to our podcast, as well as like the Husker Online YouTube channel and subscribe to us on here. For Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan. Thanks to our producer, Megan Gutner, behind the scenes, putting the show together.